Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be learning how to make chocolate chip brownies, the fudgiest, yummiest brownies you've ever tasted. Take my word for it. This kind of brownies are very fudgy on the inside and with the perfect crackle on the top of it. It's a very quick recipe to make in about 30 minutes plus bake time. You are done with it. You can cut this up to make your mini brownie bites. You can use them as your perfect cake fillings. You can even put them in your proper celebration cakes. Just depends on how versatile or how creative you can be. So we're getting straight down to the business, but I need you to understand a few tips and tricks to making these brownies a very perfect recipe and that will give you a good result every single time. So first of all, I'll tell you that to make my brownies, I don't need cocoa powder, I don't use brown sugar. So the core ingredients in this brownie recipe is the chocolate chip, the mini chocolate chip. There are actually different kinds of chocolate chips, but this is the type I use. It's the mini chocolate chips. It doesn't have so much, as in the content of the chocolate in it is not so high, so it's more like a compound chocolate but in the chips version, so it gives you a perfect result every single time. You don't have a brownie that would actually melt out in the sun. It actually looks dry and it's just like a perfect snack to snack on. You don't have to care about any mess or anything. It's more like a cookie, yeah. So how you work with it is once it's ready, you have to, for you to know that you've gotten your brownies right, there's always been something that everybody says, and I find it very true. You always have to have like a perfect crackle on top that looks like that it's been breaking or something. And then when you cut it through, it's not supposed to be fluffy, it's not supposed to be moist, it's just supposed to have like a cookie-like texture, and that's what's called the fudgy texture. So it looks very thick and darker on the inside than what it looks like on the surface. So let's go together and let's learn a few things. And one of the things I need you to know that there are different brownie recipes, but for my recipe I always use coffee liqueur to achieve that very slight hint of alcohol. Not alcohol really, but that just like to preserve it. So even if you don't want to finish it on the spot, you don't have anything to worry about thinking that will it go bad or will it not go bad. So I use the Kahlua most of the time. It's actually clearly written on it. It's called the coffee liqueur. So sometimes you don't get this around, so I was able to come by another modification. Now this is also another coffee liqueur, but this has a higher content of alcohol, this has a lower content, but both of them are going to do the same work. So for the purpose of this class, I'm going to be teaching with my Kahlua. I've used this over time and I've started using this because I found this a bit scarce. I haven't seen it to buy, so I just switched to this and it's been working perfectly for me. So on the alternative, for those that do not take alcohol, for brownies, I have good news for you. You can actually use just water, pure distilled clean water, as the exact replica of substitute to what I'm making. For instance, now this recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of water or coffee liqueur, but I always prefer to use the coffee liqueur because it has like a richer, intense flavor. It gives you like a burst. But if you don't take alcohol, you don't need to feel bad or you don't need to trash the recipe. Just use water, clean water, room temperature water, and you're going to get the exact perfect results the brownie is going to give to you. So for the recipe, it's actually straightforward. You're going to be needing the chocolate chips, as I already explained earlier. You're going to be needing your coffee liqueur. So now, I have Kahlua here, I have Duroc. So that means that once you get a good coffee liqueur, you should be good to go, really. So I haven't tried 2 now. I see that it has given me the same result every single time. So you can also try whatever it is available in your locality. You can try it and I'm sure you get the same result. So I'd need my dark vanilla that I'm going to be using. That's almost like a staple in all recipes. Need the sauce that's going to be added to the dry ingredients. The bicarbonate of soda, that's the baking soda, the baking powder, of course my white sugar. We don't use brown sugar also, funny right? But yeah, the recipe doesn't call for brown sugar, it calls for white granulated sugar. So that's the interesting thing about the recipe. It has ingredients that are really accessible that you can actually just find in your kitchen, aside to this of course. So if you want to make it, you just need to plan ahead for it, and don't worry, you have your brownies ready. You need your unsalted butter. I have my Ambassador unsalted butter here. There are different brands. There's the President, there's Elanver. There are different types, but yeah, I always find this to work for me, but depends on you. Just make sure it is unsalted butter. And the reason why unsalted butter is stable in this recipe is because it's unsalted, so you know it has 0 salt content. So whatever salt that is going into your recipe, you can control it properly, because the recipe calls for salt, a bit of salt. So you know that you can't use salted butter plus salt, so you don't end up with salty brownies. It's gonna be, you know. So that's it basically. And another thing I speculate about this recipe is, I'm sorry to say, but you cannot double the recipe. Oftentimes than not, a lot of recipes can be doubled, but look, I tried it a couple of times and they ended in an epic fail. I'm serious. Like, I tried to, you know, I know the baker, and I tried to make 2 batters of this, but trust me, it ended in premium tears, because it ended up looking spongy like a cake. Can you imagine? I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know how it went wrong. But I tried it the first time, I tried it the second time, and I'm here to tell you that please don't waste your chocolate chips or kalua. These things don't really come cheap in the stores. So please just focus on your one batter and get your perfect result. Note also that you need to make use of a square shaped tin. For the basic recipe, you need an 8-inch pan like this, 8-inch size square pan, because you know usually how brownies are, they're always cut up into mini bars or standard bars or squares. So really you can only achieve those squares by using a square pan. So that's what I have here. I already have mine lined with parchment paper. I first of all buttered the pan inside. You know, I just did all of this like this prep to make this video faster. So I prepped the pan using the butter initially, then I used the parchment over it, and then I now buttered the pan again, and then I floured it. As against just buttering the pan and flouring it, I'll most likely end up with a dry crust. Yeah, it's always almost unavoidable to have your crust dry on the outer side for brownies, but you know, the presence of the parchment in this is going to actually hold, as in prevent it from having so much intense heat resting directly against the pan. So that's like padding it something, so more like you're doing more, but yes, for your results is better. So you pad both the bottom and the sides. I did that already, so the pan is ready. As you can see here, you're going to be needing a pot, because for the purpose of this video, I don't have a cooker here, so I'm just going to be doing the theory for you, and then I'll be showing you the results. So it's very important for you to get me explain the theoretical part. So now, to achieve your brownies, you need to do some sort of caramelization, and that happens with the butter, the sugar, and the kalua, or the water, as the case may be. You just need to prepare your dry ingredients first of all. We're going to be doing that now because brownies are very fast to make, and because the major content of it is the chocolate. You know, when it stays for a while, it's going to actually, you know, start getting hard again. So make sure that your oven is already preheated before you start up, because I already did that. So once I'm done, I take it into the oven, and at exactly 23 minutes, those are the dynamics of brownies. You need to make use of a timer. You can use your phone or whatever the case may be. You can't just leave it there, because after the mark of 23 minutes, you're going to get too wrong. It's going to get too dry, alright? So you're supposed to give it some time to now firm up by itself, despite the fact that, so that's why it has a peculiar timing, 23 minutes, yes, because I've tried other timing, but now I'm here to tell you the exact timing. So this makes it easy for you. So it's easy peasy, you just try it out. You don't need to do any experiments or anything. So you need your flour. It takes a very little quantity of flour, alright, because it's basically doesn't have any other wet ingredients aside having this and the vanilla. Yeah, and then the 2 eggs. Now the thing about the eggs in brownies is this: the lesser your egg, the fudgier your brownies will be. So if you're going to end up with a really fudgy cookie like kind of brownies, I'd rather you use 1 large egg. or very two mini-sized eggs, but you know how it's really hard to get mini-sized eggs, so I'd rather use just one large egg per batter. I'll get that first. Let's get it. So just use one really large. I'll show you what a medium-sized egg looks like and what a large egg looks like. So I mean, you should be able to give it your eyeball measurement or something. Okay, I think this would work. So for the purpose of this video now, even if I was going to measure this with a gram scale, it's going to be quite obvious that this is going to weigh more. But so for those that don't have gram scale, you should be able to eyeball it. You can see one is bigger already. So if you're going to use 2 eggs, I'd rather use 2 smaller ones of this. And you know how you really don't get small eggs these days. It's just the medium size, so you go with the bigger one, because the more eggs, you know, typically not only for brownies, the more eggs you put in a recipe, you know, it tends to give your cake more, you know, it aerates your cake more. So you don't want to have fluffy brownies, so you need to use lesser eggs to get your fudgy brownies perfect. So I'm going to be using just one large egg here for the purpose of the video. That's what I do every time anyway, so I don't find many eggs around. So that said, we're going to be using just a little quantity of flour. So let me give you a quick run of the recipe by measurement, and then we'll get right at it. So for the flour, you're going to be using 1/3 cup. This is the measuring cup here. This is a regular measuring cup. It's sold everywhere. The 1/3 mark of it is there. So you're going to be using 2/3. That is 2 of this 1/3 leveled. And anytime you want to level out your flour, I'd always advise you not to level it out with your hands, because in the process of doing that, you tend to compress the flour into, you know, the cup more, and tend to pack more into the cup. So what you do is just to take, I'll show you a sample. I already have mine measured, so I don't want to remeasure because I did that to make it faster. So let's just assume that this is a cup of flour. You know, you have this, it's already like a heap. This is too much. So all you do is just to shake it off, and then it comes to this. So this is 1 cup. You shouldn't do something like this. I'd never advise you to do something like this, because you end up pushing in more and then adding more to fill it up. So you'd be surprised sometimes how you feel like your flour is the same thing, but your cake seems dry or seems so hard or anything. So I had that already, 2 of the 1/3 cups here already. So I'll be adding my extra ingredients just because I just wanted to show you that. So basically, another thing you need to know is this recipe can actually pass off without using baking powder, because it's actually a recipe that shouldn't rise up too much. It's not a cake, it's a brownie. It's supposed to be flat, all right, flat and fudgy. So you know, aside from baking powder being a raising agent, it's also a preservative. So I don't always keep it because I still like the part that it's still a preservative. So for my own measurement, I'd use 1/8 teaspoon. That's the smallest teaspoon in the pack. Leveled, right? Leveled, totally leveled. Here, 1/8 teaspoon like this. I put it into the flour mix, and then the opposite of it being 1/4 of the baking soda, the bicarbonate of soda, is that you need more of the bicarbonate of soda for you to have a better fudgy cake. So then you use your 1/4 teaspoon heaped. This is the only ingredient that comes heaped for brownies. Heaped, almost like you're going to be using 2, but yeah, heaped, right? Heaped. See, look at the heap. Look at what it looks like, heaped like this. It goes in because you need that, the presence of that baking soda, because everybody knows how baking soda is a good strengthener. It gives better structure to whatever it is you're baking. So remember, I told you it's supposed to be fudgy and cookie like. After that, I'm going to be using 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So reason why it's always better for you to use your unsalted butter, so that you can control the quantity of salt going in. See, so here, and that's going to be all about for dry ingredients. I'm sure when you see the result, you'll be like, oh, this looks really small. But don't be tempted to make it 1.5 batter. I can't promise you the same amazing result. So because it's just a little bit of flour, I use this little container. So all you just need to do is fold everything in as always. Always prepare your dry ingredients first and set it aside. Now we'll go ahead to use up this. So once I add in the sugar, my sugar quantity is half cup. That's 1/2 cup. Half cup on the mark of it inside this for 1 batter. So I'll be writing down this recipe in a clear term, under the notes, so you can then always refer to it. So I'm going to be using 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. All right, so leveled as well. This is the largest spoon in the pack, so 2 of it. So ensure to always make sure that most of all your ingredients are at room temperature, because now I have to press this in because it's butter. It's not going to go in if I don't press it in. So for those that might tell me that maybe why am I pressing it in, I need to press this in. This is thicker and it wouldn't go all the way into the spoon, and I won't be able to get an accurate result if I don't press it in. But for flour, please don't press it in. So this is the first tablespoon I said. This is the first tablespoon. I'm going with the second one now. So same process. So the process is really simple. I'll take this to my gas cooker, and then I cook this, stirring it for just about a minute till all of the surface is bubbling, like you're caramelizing it, something like that. You know how you make caramel syrup, like that. So you're just going to cook it on medium heat, so all of the sugar will melt, and then there'll be like an overall bubbling on it. After which I'll bring it back here, and then the next thing I'll be adding is going to be for the recipe now, we're going to be needing 2 cups of this mini chocolate chips. But to go right into the batter, we're just going to be needing 1.5, that is 1 cup, and then half cup of the chocolate. It's going to go into this batter, and then I'm going to fold it in. I'm going to get like a clump of chocolate. It's going to look like a chocolate seizure. After which I'm going to now work it through with just 1 egg. Break it right in with the yolk and the white and everything. Mix it in briskly. You don't mix brownies in too much so you don't overwork it, and then you're going to have like a stretchy, elastic consistency. The more elastic it is, the more fudgy you'd expect your result to be. After which I'll be adding the vanilla flavor. Just fold it in once or twice, like one or 2 strokes. After which I'll add my flour, reserve just a little bit, like just the one that's just going to be stuck in the bowl, and then I'll add the remaining half cup of brownies into that, coat it and pour it into the mix after I've added the flour, because I need to coat it lightly, the chocolate lightly, so that everything wouldn't sink all the way to the bottom, so that it can stay in, because it's supposed to be a chocolate chip brownie. So once you cut it, you should be able to feel some chips in it, right? So let's go ahead with it. So I already put the 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I put a half cup of white granulated sugar, not caster, not processed, just the regular granulated sugar that is sold in the stores. And then I'll be going ahead to add my coffee cup. So 2 tablespoons. So this is the second one now. So going in. So after this, I'm going to be taking it right to the cooker to boil it for about 1 minute, and then I'll be right back to show you exactly what it's supposed to look like just when it comes right out of the heat, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so I'm done melting it now. So you can notice how we still have some slight bubbles on it. Whilst I was bringing it back, everything deflated, but it's supposed to just bubble all around the sides and on the surface, like you're cooking sugar, because the major component in this mix is the sugar. It has the most quantity. So now it's gone back to the smooth texture, but you can see that it looks like caramel now. So at this point, you'd work with it immediately, because it is the heat that is contained in this mixture that is supposed to melt your chocolate and give it that seizure because of the extreme heat. Everybody knows how chocolate reacts to intense heat. It seizes. So if you're using it for the purpose of anything, it might be a mess, but for this purpose you need to have that seizure. So it has to be leveled 1 cup, right? Like on the line of it, and then half cup, because the last bit of the half to make it 2 cups will be going into the batter as already stated earlier. So we have that. So I'll just be pouring this at the same time. This is the first one and this is the second one. So after which I just start stirring very briskly. You'd see the reaction now very soon, like it will start like it's going to melt, but you know how it is. Okay, I'm sure you can see that now. See, we have a thick clump of chocolate. See, that's what happens. See, thick clump. So if you were melting this, what has happened is the intense heat has actually altered the composition of the chocolate. So doing that now, what I'll do is just to break in the egg. One egg. After which I'll just stir that in, and then you'll just see the reaction. See what I'm doing. So I'll lift up my wooden turner so that you can see what I'm talking about. So see what I'm talking about. Has an elastic consistency, and that's what it will look like. Thereafter, I'll then take my vanilla. Vanilla is 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons of vanilla per 1 batter. So here we have 1 teaspoon. So then I'll take it 2 times. 2 teaspoons. That's 1. And then that's 2. Close that. Just give it a little mix, just to blend it in. Nothing serious. No over mixing. It's a very gentle batter. So after that, I'll add my floured ingredients. So and that's about it. So everything goes in, almost everything. Remember I said I'll just leave a little bit to add to it. So after giving it about 1 to 2 strokes with the wooden turner, to avoid over mixing it, again switch it to the rubber spatula, the silicone spatula. Reason being that that is actually more flexible, and in being flexible, it goes all the way to all the corners and all the sides to make sure that everything is well mixed without you necessarily overdoing it. So after having about 10 strokes, you'll be good to go. So I'm not counting, but see, I'm folding and I'm pressing it in just to make sure that everything is getting in. See, fold and press it in. That's about it. So this is the remaining bit of flour, and then I'll be taking the last half cup of chocolate chip. The last bit of it. So here, and then I'll pour it right in here. Give it a little swish. Turn, mix, 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 mix. Mix, 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 mix. And then it goes right in. And then give it about 5 strokes. 2, 3, 4. Basically, you get the idea, right? No over mixing. And then we have our brownie batter ready. Yay! So the result is never runny, it's never too thick, but it has like a firm structure. So if you look at it now, you see it still has the elastic thick clump of result. So at this point, if you leave this batter at normal room temperature for about 3 minutes, it will start firming up. It will have this dried surface on the top, because you know it's chocolate, it has to go back to the original state. So before it gets to that point, you just need to just pour it right into your prepared pan. And there's something you need to know, that avoid putting the batter on the sides of the pan as you would for any regular cake, because you assume that the sides will run down when it gets into the heat. For brownies, it would only get dried however you put it on the side. So if you have any stains by the side, you'd see you will mix it exactly how it was before you popped it into the oven. Yeah, because that's just what it is. I don't know. So after doing this now, it will seem like it's little, so you just need to work it all the way to all 4 sides of the pan like this. See that? See that? See that? I'd like you guys to actually try this like as quickly as possible. The result is always amazing. I mean, you can take my word for it. Like, it doesn't taste too chocolatey. It doesn't taste, no, like it doesn't have cocoa powder or anything. It just has like the perfect, you know, perfect balance of everything. And how so amazing, it always has this perfect crust on the surface of it that would give it that typical brownie look. So there we have that. I'm done with it. Please can you bring the video closer so that you can see what it looks like after being done. As you see, as much as possible, I tried to avoid getting around the sides of it. So see that now it's going right into the oven now for 23 minutes. Preheated the oven to the mark of 180 degrees, which is the regular or the standard temperature time to bake up anything, except of course you're making stuff that require lesser heat. But 180 degrees centigrade is the regular standard mark. You put it and immediately you pop it into the oven. Just put up your timer to 23 minutes. I'm not talking about 25 minutes. I'm not talking about 20 minutes. I'm talking about 23 minutes. It's weird, yeah, but that's what you need. 23 minutes, no more, no less. So I'll be back in 23 minutes with the results. Hi guys, and it's approximately about, I brought it out at exactly 23 minutes as already stated, but it is just now that I'm going to be trying to turn it now, because you know the nature of brownies, once it's out it has that crust on the surface and it's really delicate. So if by any chance you turn it or you flip it at that point, you get a crack, and then you know you have litters everywhere, and then it doesn't look as attractive as it should be, because when you cut it up into your squares, that's when the crackles should actually occur, so that you can control it better with the knife. And there are 2 ways to having your brownies cut up. It's either you cut it whilst it's warm like this, but you make sure that your knife, your serrated knife, is being cleaned after every cut, so that you can have clean cut as much as possible. You can use any kind of water, room temperature, or any kind of clean water with a napkin to keep wiping after every cut, to to achieve clean sides. Or you can actually just turn it out from the pan into the rack, and then transfer it to a board, and then you can then put it in the fridge just for it to hold up a bit, to firm up a bit, and then you can cut it through. Whilst cutting it through, at that point you necessarily don't need to clean after every side, because it's going to have like a firm structure already, so it wouldn't have any smudge or anything. It will come out just really clean and as it should be. So that depends on you and how urgent your order is, or how whatever it is you want to achieve. But whatever case it is, if you're cutting it whilst warm, ensure to make sure that your towel is moist, dampened. Clean it each time you cut through, so that you can get clean sides, because the beauty of brownies is, as much as it has a crackled surface, it's supposed to have like a clean side kind of thing, so that you can see the contrast of the crust and then the fudgy part in the center. That's what it is. So at this point now, it's actually, I let it rest for about 10 minutes. Now it's actually cool to touch. How you know if your cake is cool to touch is if you handle the pan and it doesn't burn you, or it's not hot. I can hold this with my bare hands. I can as well hold it with a glove. So it's ready. So all I need to do now is just to put the wire rack over it now, and then just have a flip. So once that is done, now just give it a little press. See, it's out already. We have our brownies ready. So right after doing this, you just get a board, as seen here. Just have a flip again, second time. So nothing so spectacular, and here you have your brownies ready and set. So at this point, I can't actually trim it, because it's more likely to have uneven sides and not look as clean as I would like it to be. So what I'm going to do is, now I'll pop this into the freezer because I want to show you what it will look like on the inside. It's very important for the purpose of this class. I'll pop it into the freezer for about 5 minutes, and then I'll be back to show you how I cut up my size to achieve the standard bars or the mini bites. So stay with me. I pop this into the freezer as already stated. So I just want to show you a quick one on how I achieved my clean cuts and all that. So first of all, you go. I always trim the sides, all 4 sides, so that I can give my clients the premium enjoyment they deserve by not having any dry patches or too dry crust. Anyways, going on, this is what it looks like. So I basically just repeat the process on all 4 sides, after which for me to cut it up or for you to cut it up, then it will be determined by what you want to achieve. If you want to achieve using them for your slices or anything, you don't need to cut it up. You would cut it up when you finish stacking with your other flavors. If you want to use them for your normal, like the standard brownie bites, what's this thing called, brownie bars, sorry, the ones that come in the standard squares, all you need to do is to cut this into 16 bars. That's by cutting into 16. Yeah, that's cutting a side into 4 and the other side into 5, so you have 16 or something like that, so you can have equal sides. Or if you want to use them for your mini brownie bites, then you can cut this particular size, can cut up 32 mini brownie bites, because if they are mini brownie bites, they really need to be small and handy because they are just bites. So now it depends on you. I'm just trying to give you, ideas you can work with. But whatever the case is, this is a perfect result of a chocolate chip brownie ready and served before you guys. So yeah, till next time guys, that's going to be all for the class now. I hope you found it helpful. I hope that you'd give this a thumbs up. I hope that you learned something and you are willing and eager to learn something, to try it out. Always drop your feedbacks, your comments, your reviews, and whatever it is that you want to tell me in the comment section. I'll be there to give you, the perfect response. All right, so till next time guys, I remain your favorite girl. Do try this out and wait for your feedback. See you next time. Bye bye.